how to weave a compelling brand story into your website. I've worked at a number of SaaS companies. I've done a number of rebrands, a number of launches over the years. I'm going to try to distill down everything I know really quickly. So let's jump right into it. Here's what you can expect to learn over the next couple of minutes. One, I'm going to answer the question, why should I care about brand and website? Two, how can you go about uncovering that brand story? And then I'm going to talk about telling a compelling story. And then how do you make a splash with your supposedly new website? Companies with strong brand acquire more than half of their customers for free. Okay, maybe not exactly for free because you still hire employees, but your MQLs are free and your traffic is organic, right? Why is that? That's because if your brand is well known, people think of you on their own when they have the problem that you solve, and they go to your website and they sign up. And from your perspective, that looks like I have direct traffic. I don't know why I have direct traffic, but I have it, and they signed up. I can go and ask them, and they say they heard about us, or maybe they read an article about us. Those are great to know touch points and campaigns and what work. But overall, what you know is when more than half of your traffic is organic, that means your brand is strong. I cannot overstate the importance of aligning around a metric. I have done the opposite. I have thought brand was just, let's tell a great story. We know when it's a good story. You'll know when you're telling a great story. Who needs a metric? There's demand gen for that. There's growth. There's sales. What I found is that in the long run, the momentum that you will need to keep a brand aligned, to stay focused, to say no at times where you really want to say yes to doing the easy thing, that only works if you have a number to back it up. And the best number I have found today is a number that looks a lot like an SEO metric, which is organic pipeline. With that in mind, I'm going to assume that you're convinced of that already. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what the first thing I do when I join a new company. First thing I do is I pull up the same PDF that I've pulled up for the last 4 years. I Google the same thing that I've Googled for the past 4 years. I Google brand strategy canvas because I never seem to save it and it's always on the internet. And I've actually turned this entire form into a type form or Google form, and I send it out to the entire company. I probably do this within the first week or two max. I've never found a method that was so radically different that I couldn't continue to use this. So I continue to use it. The tools is only as good as the person who's using it. So I've customized my relationship to this product over the years, and I'll show you how I use this particular tool. I encourage 100% response from executives and leaders, especially founders. There's no way you can do this without founders participating. I typically want to get 50%, about 60 responses in a 200-person company is where we're at last time. That's a pretty good response rate. Eventually, you get to a point where more responses won't give you more information, but what you want to get is a combination of veterans, early employees, and people who've been here for 3 months. And what you're looking for is not the best answer. There's no right or wrong answer. What you're looking for is convergence and divergence. In areas of convergence, do you like where you're converging? Maybe your answers are converging on the old you. Maybe the company's evolved, but the understanding of that evolution hasn't been communicated. So people still know the 18-month-old pitch, and they don't know that the product roadmap has been updated, and the vision has been updated, and the sales deck's been updated. And so they're still pitching the old story. And so you want to ask yourself, is that what we want? And then you want to look at divergence and say, why is there divergence? What do we want it to converge to? Who is right and who is wrong? Who is going towards the place we want to be going to and in the place where we're going from? And then you try to fill it out and you go through each section. I typically follow the order of the letters. So A, B, C, D, E to go through the customer, company, competitive. And then I try to plug all of that into the brand positioning statement and come out with a nice tight phrase that I can then delineate and build key messages, which are essentially brand campaigns on top of it. Then I stress test it. The question is, do I like it? Do I like the response I get? If it doesn't feel right, it means you probably messed up somewhere in the insight. You probably haven't yet found the competitive edge. Maybe your emotional benefits are too vague. And so at the end, you don't really have that hit because the emotional benefits don't actually align. So you go back and you repeat. And so I'm going to run you through really quickly our brand strategy canvas. What we're really looking for here is to distill down those nuggets of truth that just feel like, wow, that distills it down. In our customer section, we really got hung up on connecting the dots from learning, from training to business impact. That was big for us. In the competitive edge, we talked about this. We noticed this idea of generating scalable impact. We focus on the idea that it takes a long time to create learning material, and they're deployed in silos by dedicated trainers. There's no two-way dialogue, and therefore there's no engagement between the people who are meant to be the users of that content. And we started to we started to notice the things that really we felt summarized what made us different. And we started talking about deep collaborative workflows. This is something that historically 360 Learning had invested a lot in, was making sure that the learning experience was a two-way street. And we started to notice that. And from there, we moved on to rational benefits, emotional benefits. I find that company value and brand personality is typically where you get the least aha moment, mainly because tech companies and modern companies tend to have that set in stone very early. Your company culture defined by the founders. You don't really innovate that much here. I find emotional benefits to be the hardest part. One, because you stumble onto a lot of default emotions, like they struggle to, or they feel great because, and you actually really need to dig deeper. On our end, we started with two different answers. One was content creators and the other was content consumers. And then we actually found that the benefits emotionally were the same. And that was how we knew that we were onto something. We knew that confidence in the curriculum of material is something that both content creators, like a sales enablement manager, care about, and also an SDR, right? Excitement about the clear path to professional development. Sales enablement people want to know what the future of their career is, and they want to make sure that that's available to employees, and employees want to know that. And that's how we started to see that we were onto something. And then we came up with this nice, tight positioning statement. For teams who connect the dots between coaching and success, 360 Learning is the only learning suite that drives scalable business impact. We enable anyone from your team to share knowledge faster so that you outsmart the competition. People-led growth. I always like the brand essence part at the end because it's this sort of like mini tagline. So we started to have something good. There's some areas now looking back 6 months later that, it's not exactly where we're going, but we got 95% of the way over the line of where we wanted to go. And we felt like we were starting to tell a story that represented us, and it felt right. We started having these inspirations for ideas that came from there that felt true. Outsmart the competition, never stop learning, never learn alone, right? We wanted to be compassionate. We wanted to be curious. We wanted to be something you could trust. We wanted to bring people together, right? We wanted people to experience learning together. And in fact, that's what ultimately came out of all of this, was the realization that what we wanted people to do in the workplace was experience learning together, which ultimately came out of this experience. Then the next thing you do, now that you have an idea of who you want to be, now you need to put it onto your website. And I do the same thing every time, because every 18 months or when I need to, or every 3 years when a website redesign comes up, the game has changed. And I always think about who's crushing it, what stands out, and what's iconic. And some of those are historic players, and some of those are new players. Some of those are in our space, and we look at competitors. But oftentimes, I'm not really excited by what competitors in our space are doing, and I don't want to set the bar that low. I want to set the bar as high as what are the leaders in other spaces doing, and how can we learn from them? Once you've done that, you've looked at what the pro's done. I honestly do not recommend innovating on the website game unless you're looking at all of those and saying, I can do better. But I have tried to reinvent the wheel, and I have never really been satisfied with doing it. At Algolia, we thought about making our website a search bar, and we trashed that idea when we realized that our website needed to be a website. And so I typically look at, okay, what do I like about nav bars today? Okay, that's what we're going to do. What do we like about the homepage? What are the different blocks that a homepage? What's the order of the story? Okay, how does our brand strategy canvas fit into that? And I feel starting there is already so much better than what most companies have. That is what I aspire to. I aspire to deploying the SaaS playbook, because ultimately the website is not where you're going to innovate. It is the story around it that is going to ultimately create the impact. Right. And so having the default structure that works, that is set up, having a product page, an enterprise page, if you sell to enterprise as a different segment, having a pricing page, having use cases dependent pages, a careers page, having your homepage link for different primary and secondary CTAs based on where you want to go. These aren't things that I invented or anyone else, someone did, but these are key to creating a website that functions. Ultimately, the most important part about telling a strong brand story and deploying that are three things. One is create internal momentum. We told our company we are going to launch a new website, and it is going to be a brand new 360 learning. Starting that day, we are a different company, and we will all know exactly why we're proud to work here. And externally, we sought uniformity. I would Google 360 learning and look at the top 50 image results and the top 50 search results and look at where is our brand today? Where are people discovering us? And how do we make sure that no matter where they find us, that the first impression is the same? And then we set a date and we launched. So we ultimately set a date for last quarter, and we launched. When we launched with a video. I find a 90-second video is a very good practice for basically telling a linear version of your website. They ultimately come out to the same thing. You've got emotional Kickstarter, the problem, the core personas, the product, the illustrations, the everything. You get the whole pitch all the way through. And I'm a big fan of that. We ultimately put our video on the homepage of our website. The next thing we did is we did a product hunt launch. I said we set a date, and I find product launch to be a great way to say hello to the world. Oftentimes they're a very website sensitive audience. It's a really good way to test whether your messaging is solid, whether all that work you put into your brand ultimately worked. And also it's a great way to get everyone on board. The whole company gets on board. Your community gets on board. We had customers posting about us. We had investors posting about us. It just creates a general momentum around this new story. And lastly, I'm a big fan of creating consistency on LinkedIn. So we did 180 revitalizations of LinkedIn profiles, a new profile photo for everyone, new banner, new company description, new tagline, everything. That way, no matter who you know in our company, wherever you go, you will come across a consistent experience. We have colors that tell a visual story. We have taglines that tell a brand personality story. We have a cover photo that tells you what we believe in and what our core value proposition is and differentiation. And ultimately, that comes together inside the website because people are going to see you, they're going to go to the website, and they're going to have the exact same feeling, right? You're preempting them coming onto the website with this.